This is a Play Your Way network presentation. Get the full story at PlayLifeYourWay.com. In a world where comics, movies, games, rumors, and Kardashians come at you 24/7, three champions will rise to defend you from wasting precious time, money, and emojis. BK, Nate, and Derreck will show you how to do it. The Player Way.
Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, with all due respect, so once again, Patron, once again, is your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you understand how to curate your life and media.
The Player Way.
Indeed, indeed, that's what time it is. I'm back with my co-captains, Derreck.
You already know, still flying high off that air supply opening scene,
And Nate.
That's me.
That's what's up, that's what's up. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, you are now tuned into the Player Way podcast. We're back every single week, killing it in the most player way possible. But before we get on, we definitely got to get, before we put any more glitches in the Matrix, before we allow Derreck to corrupt the system, before we allow Mr. Corbin Dallas to just do his Corbin Dallas-y-like thing and add his fifth element, we got to give it up to Mr. Darren Marler, the scrumptious voice of the Playway podcast, so that he can give us a little action on the commercials.
Number 5.
No, it's not time for the number 5, but I'm glad that you reminded us again, Darren. Darren is reminding us that the top 5 podcast, it is the PG version of the Playway podcast. Shout out to Nate with the S-bomb, though. He did sneak one by me last week. But that is, but that's the PG version of the Playway podcast. We rank and we curate stuff here on the Playway podcast every single week, but we use a little bit of an adult language. So on Tuesdays, that's when we do our thing, and then on Thursdays we throw it back. I don't have a good analogy for it. We just throw it back, and we have our top 5 countdown. So this Thursday we're going to be having a top 5 best actors. That is, in parentheses, male and female of all time. So definitely tune into that so you can curate your actors, the actor studio.
The Player Way.
Now, Darren, with all due respect, if you don't mind, give us a little action for our sponsors.
Presented by Play Your Way Network and Agency Cartel Clothing Company, the official clothing for grind time.
That's what's up. Thank you, Mr. Darren Marley. You definitely killed that. And we are powered up and ready to go. Guys, what is on the docket for this week? Of course, we're going to be talking about Deadpool, but before we get to that, what's been going on in your worlds? What you all been curating, man? What y'all been consuming?
Man, I've been still doing my best to jump in there before Nate can say what he's been up to. Honestly, I wrapped up Black Lightning, and I like that the last time you asked me about this, I had said something specifically, like I feel like his attitude is how Luke Cage should have been portrayed, and actually finishing out the series, it is exactly how I feel Luke Cage should have been portrayed. Like this, I can't think of the actor's name. My apologies.
Better than you're saying this is better than Luke Cage, or about as good?
Is Black Lightning as good as Luke Cage?
Yes, or better.
Well, the first half of Luke Cage.
Yes, that's
True.
probably the best way to. That was exactly my hesitation. I was like, I feel, yeah. Like once we got into the last few episodes of Luke Cage, I feel like that kind of pulled it down. But I would put it up there as I feel like you have the caveat of a CW show, which they're still enjoyable. I still enjoy Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. I have my expectations adjusted. However, Black Lightning, like it's got a decent soundtrack. The messages in there are very current and applicable, and by current, that can apply to any of the past 5 to 6 to 7 decades. So you get what I'm saying, BK there. And it's very enriching just to kind of follow this family along, and also just feel watch them actually touching on the current hot points, but even going so far as to actually have the intellectual underneath behind it. I used the analogy while I was describing it to somebody else. I feel like I was in shallow water, and then boom, I hit the continental shelf with Black Lightning because of how deep the story ends up getting. Very, really, really, really well portrayed, and it's something that definitely you should put on the to-do list.
You are watching a master at work.
Man, killing it with those. I mean, those. I can't even similes and metaphors, man. I love it.
Oh man, you know how it is.
What's up? So Black Lightning, you definitely give it a recommendation?
Absolutely. It's a very strong performance.
Okay, so you would say that if people are watching it,
I would say if people are watching it, they would be doing it
the player way.
There you go. I was trying to set the volleyball up for you just right so you can spike it down the middle.
Spike it.
It ain't no fun unless we all get some. Exactly. Nate, what you got going on over there, bro?
I have been packing and moving.
What?
This will be my last broadcast from Los Angeles. This is
what? So I gotta change the closing credits. Recorded in a single take from where you located to, bro.
Our nation's fucking capital.
There you go.
Woo.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum.
It's very
Governor De La Vega in the house.
Exactly.
Cue the House of Cards theme.
There you
It's
go.
very bittersweet. Now that it's like my last week, I'm actually very sad to leave LA. I do love it here, but it's time to be a little less selfish in life and, be closer to friends and family.
Aww.
Whatever, Nate. You tell them that it's just a slightly longer plane trip, and you'll be there when you get there.
So, have you figured out? Never mind. I'm not even gonna go there. I was gonna say, what are you gonna do about certain things that are no longer allowed on that side of the country? If you catch my drift.
Oh, it's allowed in our nation's country.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll get you relocated to the West Coast. To the best coast until
big
the rest
reason
of
I am okay with moving back.
Yo, speaking of which, did y'all hear about there was a K2, it sounds weird, a K2 outbreak in like New York City, like Brooklyn or something like that? Apparently a bunch of people were smoking synthetic marijuana and like they all ended up going to the hospital. It was so weird. It's so interesting that like, yes, synthetic marijuana is something that at one time I feel like there was a huge market for that. But like I feel like now it's I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of like the country is slowly but surely becoming legalized, and it's like why mess around with the synthetic if you can get the good. But anyway, I'm glad that you are you coming back to this time zone, bro?
Yeah.
That's going to be what's up.
My theory is, and this is why I sort of agree with the term that marijuana is a gateway drug. But when you drink alcohol, you get drunk. Mm-hmm. You can black out. But you'll reach that echelon of like, okay, now I have alcohol poisoning.
Right.
In terms of getting intoxicated from using drugs, you can always be higher or get a different high.
Yes, I definitely agree with that 100%.
Yeah. You are watching a master at work.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely think there's.
So people will always experiment with shit. It's
true. That synthetic is something else, though. That's a whole nother thing. But
you should educate yourself before trying anything.
Absolutely, you should definitely test the waters
Google
as opposed
search
to
can solve so many problems.
A YouTube search for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, speaking of Google searches, it's time to kind of talk about a little googly search action that we're going to be doing in just a little bit, because we're going to be trying to figure out who did the best at the Captain's Challenge, the Gentleman's Bet. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Bets.
Isn't it you?
Place your bets here. We got a gentleman bet right over here. Let's get it going, boys.
Yeah. So we're definitely talking about the Captain's Challenge. And, yeah, man. Anybody want to do the honors of where it came in?
I will go ahead and do the honors of this, if I may add. And as Nate and I predicted, if you took the domestic plus the foreign and divided it in two, it's like where Nate and I were talking about.
In even
right
parts.
there in the sweet spot of 125 plus 164. But let's go ahead and give it up for our resident podcast DJ. Everybody, y'all need to clap it up for this man. He knew it once again. He used his skill, his certain set of skills, his knowledge, his prowess to come in and once again be that close without going over. He
right
called it
on
a
the
cool
dot.
125.
Right on the dot. I knew it. I knew it.
I didn't get sort of this recognition when I called Infinity War right on the money.
Yes, you did. Actually, we gave it up to you.
Dude,
you just didn't gloat it.
Right around 30.
We did.
Like,
I set you up. You just aren't the gloat type of guy, and I appreciate that. But I am the definite gloat type of dude. But yeah, if I had done Infinity War where you hit it at, oh man, I'd still be talking about it. I'd be talking about it right now.
You know.
But which you kind of did.
But still, let's just give the appreciation once again to Disney. But 30 million all again, insane. Just for this, like, man,
insane.
30 million more dollars went to they're just eating into their own competition and profits. Because
they definitely even though this is a Fox film, they got a piece of that action. What Marvel Studios did, and Marvel Studios is owned by Marvel. Now, Nate, the comic book division is even owned by Disney too, right?
What's that?
The comic book division is even owned by Disney too, right?
Yeah.
Man.
Fox only owns the film rights.
Man. So they definitely get a piece, man. Man, that's insane. In association.
But great call on that.
I'm not sure about merchandising, though.
Yeah. I think Fox gets the merchandising for sure on that. I
would assume if they got the film rights.
Yeah, they do. I think all it is in order for them to have that logo show up at the very beginning, they got to give Disney a piece of the pie. Because just having that logo at the beginning of your film adds so much. And on top of that, to be able to talk about Thanos and other things like they did. So let's just get right on over to the exclusives, man.
The Player Way.
Exclusive.
Okay, so the exclusives for this week, the topic, we're going to be talking about Deadpool. And as you saw, when you clicked on this episode, is Deadpool 2 as good as Deadpool 1? Okay, so that's what we're talking about this week. Guys, all three of us saw it, I would imagine, yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
shout out to 2001 Frontier, Deadpooling it up.
Absolutely. And shout out to 2001 Frontier for an amazing set of decals that he sent me in the mail.
Nice.
Nate's awesome Playaway Podcast Avengers Infinity War logo made it through. And then I also got a Corrupting the System decal as well.
Very cool.
So
Very cool.
That's
absolutely.
What's up on site.
I love the question that you posed to us. Is it better than the first? And when I saw it late Thursday night, and when people asked me Friday that, hey, what's your opinion of it? So, and of course I'm like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but and my first take on it was at Deadpool 2's worst, it was as good as the first one, in my opinion. Okay. I feel like I might have, and that was my initial hot take on it.
Okay.
I felt humor was perfectly placed. I laughed so much, so much in this, so many times, so much humor, so much dark. And I would also like to say I somehow had a premonition the day of Thursday as I was listening to my singer-songwriter playlist on Spotify. Air Supply, All Out of Love came on, and something about the way that the mood hit my bones, I was like, I feel like I'm going to hear this in Deadpool. I feel like it's going to be one of those moments where I'm going to hear this.
Yeah, that song in particular has been really popular in media in general. So yeah, it was a good, in my opinion, I think it was a good note for them to hit that. Yeah, definitely great placement.
Yeah,
fingers on the pulse.
But yeah, that's my first take. Is it was as good as the first. What about you,
Nate?
I definitely enjoyed the first more than I enjoyed this one.
Okay.
I would, I mean, not to say I didn't enjoy this and it's not a good movie and people shouldn't see it, but I kind of liken it to Guardians 2, like they took everything that worked in the first one and upped it to 11.
And yeah,
with that said, like a lot of the jokes to me fell flat or they dragged on too long.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
It seemed like the heart of the movie was kind of gone from this one as opposed to the first.
So I kind of had a similar love-hate relationship with this particular one as well. I like the way Derreck worded that it is at least as good as the original because it is essentially just a copy-paste of the original.
Yeah.
The story of the first film is about Deadpool trying to get back to his girlfriend. And this is
Love
all
story,
about him.
Deadpool 1.
Yeah, and the reason
family story Deadpool 2.
But it wasn't a family story. It was him trying to.
I didn't buy the relationship between Deadpool and the kid.
No, it wasn't a family. That's exactly what I'm getting at. It didn't feel like a family story at all. It might have felt like a family story if they didn't kill everybody off in the jumping out of the plane scene. I thought that was a huge misstep. Here's my problem with Deadpool 2, and I want to keep it really organized. Deadpool 2, first and foremost, the biggest first issue that we're talking about that Nate arose and Derreck alluded to with it being as good as the original, is they went back to the well. They were like, okay, what worked really well was making fun of baby appendages and the macabre attraction between him and his girlfriend, and Deadpool being a screw, and also, let's talk about Hugh Jackman a lot. I mean, and let's also make fun of Ryan Reynolds' career choices. It was the same jokes, and I agree with Nate. It felt flat. I was like, when they showed the after credit scene, Rachel was really shocked. She was like, "Why are you leaving?" I was like, "I don't care about this. I already know what it's going to be." As soon as I saw him grab the hockey puck and leave, I was like, all right, so he's going to, I guess either he's seeing if his table is ready at Fuddruckers or he's going back in time with the hockey puck. Because it did look like one of those little things they give you when you're waiting at TGI Fridays to get your table. But yeah, I was like, yeah, exactly. And so I was like, why do we have to keep going back to... We've established here's my problem. It's not funny if you keep fucking up. If your studio keeps making mistakes, it's not funny anymore. You can't just say, "Look how we're screwing up, guys." It's not funny. If you go to a movie theater and someone drops your popcorn all over the floor as they're delivering it to your seat with your beer, and they go, "I'm such a klutz," you're not gonna fucking laugh. You like pick that shit up and get me something else and hurry up because the movie's about to start. Like, yes, we've been over this. We now have established that Fox makes mistakes. Let's not keep going back to that well every single time we have a chance to point it out. Why don't we just start fixing mistakes? Because there are definitely plenty of mistakes they made in this particular one, and we're going to get to those as well. But anyway, yes, point number one is going back to the same well with the jokes and it's falling flat.
Let me put my foot in the door.
Well, one last thing before I hand it to you. Keep it in mind. The baby lower half appendages scene was not funny, and two, went way too long.
It wasn't funny until he started walking toward
yeah, and it took forever. And it took forever to get to that. And it wasn't even funny, it was just ridiculous. Like, it was like, okay, God, can we move on? Jesus Christ. All right, now go ahead, Derreck.
But the ridiculousness of it, that's what I appreciate. And when you're like, Fox, let's start fixing their issues. What are your expectations for Fox to do? Honestly, like, my expectations of Fox is to make this again until they realize they can't do it again. I don't have any other expectations from Fox other than Deadpool this. And I feel that's a normal expectation. I would want more. I would love to obtain more and get more substance, but I know I'm not going to get that from a Fox studio movie. I just know it, and we all know it. We all know it. I mean, it's Fox. Fox has been the toilet bowl of entertainment for decades now. The Simpsons started that joke early in the 90s and kept that running very well.
Yes.
Matt Groening, I say, started that joke in the 90s. So what are we really going to, I mean, can we expect more? We can. Are we ever going to get more?
Well,
more than likely not.
Well, Nate, I'm gonna let you start with that because I think you and I are of the same mind. Go ahead, Nate.
I think what they should have focused doing is giving Deadpool. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's really no plot to this.
Yes.
What they should have done is given Deadpool some sort of character progression other than the reluctant hero. We've seen that in the first one. You know, and you could easily drive him in a different direction in the second one.
Yeah, definitely giving him we already had Negasonic Teenage Warhead from the first film, and instead of progressing her character,
I feel like they put the exact same scenes from her.
I don't know.
No, not even that.
Why did they add the new kid?
Not even that.
You could have easily had Negasonic.
There you go. That's what my point is. They gave Negasonic's progression to this nameless kid. They pretty much got like the same powers. It would have been much more compelling if in this flashback scene you see Negasonic Teenage Warhead blow his. You get what I'm saying? That is a lot more compelling to watch. And I would have
bought that relationship with Deadpool more than I would have bought with this random kid that just showed up that we know nothing about. You know, that's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't care. You know, it's you immediately don't care. And look,
I can concur with that because I didn't feel connected to the kid. I mean, I was glad they had a chubby actor. I'll say that. I was glad to see a chubby superhero kid. I mean, and they also pointed it out. But as you stated, I felt that his connection with the kid was just so forced because he was just. I feel like what they wanted to do was make the connection so forced because he's forcibly trying to obtain whatever he's getting in that, you know, astral plane toward his girlfriend. However, you know, they had enough characters where they could have just gone there. Like the opening part where he was trying to de-escalate the situation with the cops, that could have been the actual plot development and character development for Deadpool. He could have actually been, you know what, let me try this X-Men thing. Let me try this, not blow somebody, you know, between the eyes. That was actually, and that's where I thought they were going with the movie. And then he just commits cold-blooded murder. And, you know, like right there. Like, I was like, man, like, that's jail time, you know? And then I could tell, you know, at that point, I'm like, okay, we're going the same route as the first one, which, like I said, I'm okay with because I enjoyed the first one. But then again, as you said, I guess if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, Deadpool 2, you know, second verse, same as the first. 2 Hugh Jackmans, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, definitely. So, our number 2 point is character progression. I agree that here's my problem with Deadpool. All right, so he's been this mercenary in the first film, and he was kind of living his life a certain way before his girl came into his life. And then his girl comes into his life, and then he starts to not do so well health-wise, and then they lose track of one another, and then they find each other again. What's perplexing to me is why not do something really refreshing, like give Deadpool working at Burger King, like at the very beginning of the movie. It'd have been really funny with his raisiny skin in this outfit taking orders, like, and because like he doesn't need to fight anymore. Like he doesn't need to. If he's gonna be all about this girl, then let him be all about this girl. Deadpool is this guy that we see in the first film that while he can be kind of screwbally in how he take people down, he's incredibly masterful at killing them. Like, the only real silly scene we get of him where he kind of screws things up is not even his fault. Colossus jumps in the middle of the fight, and that's when he breaks his arm and has to break his arm off and get the baby arm. That's the only time he has any issues is when Colossus gets in his way. The rest of the film, he's really good at what he's doing. Like, in this film, he's a fuck-up. Like, he fucks up all the time. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to this mercenary? Like, the first kill of the film, his first major mission of the film, he fails to accomplish, which I thought was really weird. A weird way to start the film off.
You think it was perhaps because of the distraction of the relationship, though? Do you think that's what they were trying to portray, or do you think that's even reaching that Fox wasn't thinking that, and that would just be probably a consumer thing?
I think it's old school storytelling. It's like, oh, so he's a mercenary. Okay. People are going to find his address. Okay, I don't. I'm just confused because if that's the truth, why didn't they go to the bar and blow that up like they did in Deadpool 1? We actually went through this where they knew where he was getting his missions from. They go to the bar and almost kill everybody in the bar. Like it's like you would think after the first film, he'd be like, if I love her, we're going to move and not stay in the same places we were in the last film because we got caught last time. And definitely you're not working at the strip club anymore because you got caught there as well. So let's just do something different. Like it's interesting to me that it was that elementary of storytelling. And he even point fun at it. Like they even at one point say that's just lazy storytelling. At one point,
lazy writing.
Lazy writing, exactly. It's like, go ahead.
That was a point on mine too. Like they had a few jokes where they took a shot at their own movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you trying to take me out of this?
Exactly. And it's like, if you know it's bad, then don't do that. Like, you can make fun of other films by other directors, but you can't make fun of your own film while you're in it. Just fix it and make it good. You know? Yeah. Those were things that distracted me because it didn't make any sense. It was very predictable that she was going to get killed. As soon as he came home, and it was so obvious.
It was obvious.
There were several telegraphing things, like him dying with the collar around his neck. That was like the whole opening scene of them going to jail. I was like, oh, so he's going to die at the end. Like that. That was.
Well, he also says that at the beginning of the movie too.
And another reason.
Yeah.
No, don't spoil your own film. Like, let's not do that. Like, I get it. I get all of that. And on top of that, he is narrating, so you know he survived it. That was the other problem. Is at the very beginning of the film, he's narrating
tell you about the time I almost died.
Exactly, and we've seen that film already. We've seen Fallen, so it was. Those are the things that got in my way, and those things didn't bother me until I started seeing people on Facebook. It doesn't corrupting the system doesn't count because I know how you are. I already knew as soon as you put it out there. I'm like, okay, really. But there's a lot of people who really
What are you talking about, though? What are you talking about?
There's a lot of people who really honestly believe that Deadpool 2 is better than Infinity War. I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yes. That's what even inspired me to make that. Just because I was like,
it's like a fly trap. Like you put sugar water in there to get them to fall in and drown themselves. It's like, yep.
That's right.
And it was great. It inspired me to make a really cool meme, too. So I was like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to definitely talk about this next week. Like, how can you even compare these films? First of all, what Deadpool 2 is it's a parody of itself.
Deadpool. It's Deadpool.
Well, no, it's a parody of Deadpool, unfortunately, is what this film became. Everything that... this movie played like that guy who did the ironic humor back in high school, and he's still doing it when y'all are in college. It's not fun anymore. It's not funny anymore. Like, it's like, oh, you're still doing that? Like,
the Hangover Part 2. That's
yes. Have you seen Key and Peele where you got the guy who's like, oh, sure. You know, like every time he's got some sarcastic remark at the picnic table at lunchtime. You're like, we're just talking. Like, why are you talking that way? I don't know what you mean. Like, why do you have to talk that way? Talking like what? Like, you don't know how to not do that? Like, that's what this film felt like. It was like, guys, you all got Cable in this film. You got, Domino, who actually came out pretty well.
Cable was the guy I was most excited to see. And not that Josh Brolin did a bad job, but it's just, maybe it's the lazy writing. Like, I was really underwhelmed by Cable. Because I had such high expectations.
And wow, for him to just abandon his family like that so fast. I was like, wow, right, so you don't want to go back to the future?
That's one thing I did want to say because the entire reason he traveled through time to go murder a child was to save his family. And then once he knew that his family was safe, well, yeah, your family's safe, but you're not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're safe, but they don't know where you're at. They literally have no explanation.
Well, here's the problem. Here's how they fix it, because this is what would happen in the pantheon of comics. It always happens this way. Now that the timeline is fixed, and you know this, Derek, you know about Future Trunks. If he goes back into the future, there's no place for him anymore. because the timeline continues and Cable is still there and he never goes back to begin with. So they should have had a scene where he calls it a one-way ticket. He's like, this is a one-way ticket. Like, you don't want to be with your family? You don't understand. If I reset the timeline, I'll be there already, idiot. Like, it should have been something like that. And it should have been something to the effect of, if in the after credit scene, when the mid credits start, Cable gets the girls to fix the time machine thing, and then they go back and then repair him, and that would have been cool. His death scene also took forever too.
That's the thing that dragged on for me. I was like,
it was one past too many. It's like, all right, guys, it's not funny anymore.
It was the Family Guy.
Yes.
I'm not gonna do. That's all I'm willing to do.
Another reason why this film it doesn't feel super necessary, and I know that sounds weird for me to say that, but there were opportunities to take this somewhere, and that's kind of where they're trying to end up at the end of the movie. Is this is now X-Force. The problem is that you had perfectly good characters that you hyped up in all of the trailers. They're actually doing press junkets and everything, and they are barely in the movie. Like, why?
Vanisher.
Oh man, Brad Pitt, man, that was so funny. That was so funny.
Was perfect.
That was
so perfect.
I thought that was the only death that was necessary to have it. They could have just killed Brad Pitt off, and that would have been fun. Like, that would have been great. But like.
But then
to kill everybody, they killed everybody off. I was like, wow. And on top of that, they made Domino like way overpowered. That is not exactly how Domino's power worked in the comics. It wasn't that dependable.
She wasn't that lucky.
She was skilled. She was like a female Deadpool. So like the luck helped, but she was badass on her own. She was a bounty hunter.
I thought she was pretty cool though, and I like how they portrayed her.
She was cool. I still don't think it was a good idea. They could have still had a black actress, but then did her face in white and did her eye in black because her name is Domino. She's supposed to look like a goddamn domino. So if she's not looking like a domino, then what the fuck? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, she's supposed to have a white face with a black dot on it, like a number one domino. It was just weird to me. It was just weird to me to call her Domino then, and they even call her Dom later, you know. But it was weird to me.
Should have just been Foxy Brown and just left it at that.
I don't know. I have a weird thing with, and I know the resident black guy of the podcast to say it.
Is that a fork in the road for you? Like, you either want it to look like the comic or do
it's
awesome
just
artist
No, there's a lot of stuff in Deadpool 2 that are done for the sake of being edgy or cool. Like, you could never take Storm and make her white and the public be cool with it. You take a character who's white and then make her black, and all of a sudden it's edgy. That's not gangster. Like, that's not cute. Like, that's not funny. If you take Thanos and make him black, brown skin, and no purple, we're going to be like, what the fuck, man? Like, so, like, I have a thing about where we can kind of mess with comic characters for the sake of putting a black character in there. I don't know. I'm a black person. I understand what they're trying to do with the whole Black Panther thing.
Excuse me, young black man. I just want to...
Yeah, I get it, but just put her in her damn makeup, man. And I'm pretty sure Nate, there's certain characters that he doesn't really care so much about. Did you even really care about Domino all that much?
No.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. I had a feeling.
Whatever you wanted. But I do think, like, if you were going to kill off the rest of the X-Force, why didn't you kill her off, too?
Yes.
And have a joke of something like, I guess she wasn't that lucky.
Thank you.
Yeah, the obvious joke. At least the clear, obvious joke.
Yeah.
Not that lucky.
Yeah.
But it was cinematic, you know, do it in a extreme way or something, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Maybe her death, he's like, that was a pretty lucky way to die, yeah. Well, are there things that you liked? Anybody in this room?
Juggernaut was the only thing that saved this film for me. For me,
Juggernaut
like, I was
good.
like, okay,
Especially
that was worth paying the
If
admission.
you remember the 2006 Vinnie Jones Juggernaut.
Now, I will say this.
I wanted them them to make fun of that too.
Now, and here's why they couldn't make fun of it, because he had the same fucking costume on. That was the only problem I had. I was like, why can't we just have the fucking Ruby costume? Why do we have this goddamn cement block fucking head? I'm sorry with all the F-bombs, but jeez.
I do have a question. I have a question for my comic geniuses on this podcast. If he's not a mutant, so how did they suppress his powers in jail? I just missed that in the movie.
He gets his. That's all regular.
Yes.
In the comics, he gets his powers from the Sidorak gem.
Exactly.
And he's not supposed to be that big without it. Like, he's still a big guy, but that's what makes him humongous, and unstoppable.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah. And on top of that, his comic is red because the bands of Sidorak and the whole magic of Sidorak is red. We just saw the Crimson Bands of Sidorak in Infinity War.
Of course.
Why not make him red? It made me so mad. He had the same costume as Vinnie Jones. They just made him bigger. It was the same costume. I was like, oh my God. It's the same costume. He's just bigger. Now, granted, he actually acted like Juggernaut, and I like that. Like, he was this kind of dummy.
Cold.
And I love his, he was,
cock ring.
I love his fight with Colossus. That was pulled straight from the comic book.
Since X-Men Saturday Morning, that fight between Juggernaut, Colossus, Jubilee, Rogue, Wolverine, that whole fight. So I was really amped. Like, I sat up in my chair to see the Colossus Juggernaut fight, and just seeing the size difference still.
Yeah, and I like that. And I like that.
Don't point out the obvious and say that. Oh, cue the CGI fight. We know it is. Obviously.
We don't need to do all that. Exactly.
And I do need to ask: is that how they do it in Russia, Colossus? Y'all shove unshielded wire up asses? Is that a thing that's done in Russia? Like, he's a good guy. That's definitely not how they do it in Russia. You know that's
well. Again, it's certain. It's fan service for the sake of fan service. That's a Reddit thing. So, like, if you go on Reddit, there's a lot of memes that talk about back in Mother Russia, this is how they do it. So that was all that was for. But it's just like, there's a lot of extraneous things that they had the substance of a really great story. I still don't understand why the choice to kill the character from Mojo World off. That was another great scene for me when he actually talks about Mojo World. I was like, what? They actually are talking about it? Like, I thought that was really fucking cool, because it's like, shit.
Was it Shatters?
Yeah, Shatterstar talking about Mojo World. I was like, what? I thought that was a really cool nod to the fact that they're willing to talk about characters in ways that they've not been. It used to be a big deal. If you go back to the first X-Men film, there are like literally no references to anyone that is not on screen. Like, they're very careful. Like, I love the little nod to Essex Corp in this one. I love, like, there's this one guy there that looked like he could have been Mr. Sinister. The attendee guy. Yeah. He had that look to him.
They've been mentioning the Essex Corporation since, like, the end of Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Because he had that briefcase.
Just fucking give me Mr.
Thank
Sinister.
You! That's what I'm saying! I was really hoping we get an after-credit scene with Mr. Sinister, and we did not get it, dude.
Or even make him the villain. Make this some sort of big machination he came up with to get Cable pissed off,
to get Cable to
tie
come back
together in the end.
We needed Cable's DNA.
They have the formula. Yeah. They have the formula to do
this.
I
don't even like the fact that they didn't have any sort of nods to the fact that the cybernetic virus that Cable has is something that was given to him by Apocalypse. So how could he have it if Apocalypse got killed off? It was just, it was just some of those things.
Or even just explain what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
All we did was get a scene of Josh Brolin looking at himself in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's got a metal arm.
Well,
right?
You know how they explain it? They have the nod to Terminator, and he lands in like New Mexico at one point, and like out in the desert, and like that's the explanation. It's like, oh, well, he's like the Terminator. That's all you need to know. It's like, okay. But Colossus's scenes were really cool. Juggernaut was really cool. The nod to Essex Corp
another
was
comic
cool.
question. Forgive my ignorance here. Like, Colossus, like, he wasn't always like
No,
Colossus. Like,
he
like
does
he
not.
did switch between the two, right? Like,
Exactly.
why is he never normal? Ever?
Why is he taking a nap in the bed in his metal form? Is that what
ironically,
you're asking,
he's
Derek?
like,
Because
"You're
that's a
not
really good
superhero
fucking
all the
question.
time. You don't brush teeth like superhero. Actually, you do, dude. Apparently, you are always metal. Like, you don't even wear clothes.
It's
Why do
'cause
you care about clothes?
Since he's an entirely CG character, it would probably look weird if they showed him in human form. That's what I would assume.
They could show the transition. Like, they had
Yeah,
the funding.
They already did that in like X3, and no one liked
It didn't it didn't work out. But
I
to
guess
Derek's
just more so,
point,
like, he's
but
just
to
chilling
Derek's
in the
point,
twin bed.
To Derek's point, my point with agreeing with him is that they painted themselves into a corner with Colossus because they didn't have a character to really, you know what I'm saying? They could have found a way to make it work. Maybe kind of like the Hulk where he grows. I would have been cool.
Or like a piece of it where you just see the last little bit of him finishing up, just enough to where you don't actually have to have a whole actor to do it. Just
I agree 100%. You could have had an actor in bed so you can't tell how big he is, and you just kind of see maybe his hand hitting the alarm clock. He hears it. It could have been somebody really, really famous that would have been kind of cool to see.
John Cena.
Yeah, it could have been. Man, only problem is we wouldn't have been able to see him on screen. So
that would have been
and you could have added a little joke where he turns back into human form and Deadpool's like, "Where are you?"
Man, see, Nate, exactly, because John Cena is definitely big enough. It's like, so wait a minute, so your Russian accent is part of your transformation? Like, that would have been really cool. That would have been.
Is Dolph Lundgren?
Where did your accent go? Wow, you look mildly middle of America when you're not transformed.
Where's my birth?
Yes, it could have been him. It definitely could have been him. They could have definitely had him.
Colossus.
Bruh, what is my birth? Sorry, we're fresh out of birds. Like that would have been. I'm telling. There's so many things.
Like, they killed me in Iron Man 2, but I still need more money. So
exactly, there could have been many things. There are many things that could have been done.
Sides.
Many sides. But anyway, are we saying that Deadpool 2 isn't great? No, we're not saying that it's not great. It definitely had. I don't find myself wanting to watch this again.
No. Or even wanting a X-Force or
Nope.
Deadpool 3.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think they should have kept him killed off if that's what they wanted to do.
It shows by the box office, honestly. If
it does.
Even beat the first. Yeah. And I don't understand the reasoning between
But
them
I will say the
moving
first
up
one had a longer day opening to compare.
Well, that's my next point. It's like they moved this up from its original release date, and I think like June, where you wouldn't have any competition. You don't have Solo coming out the weekend after. You don't have
Infinity War.
Solo's not going to be much of a competition anyway.
So regardless, you're still going to get Star Wars fans that go to that movie.
I agree,
but they're not going to go watch this again.
No, definitely not. No one's going to really care about this as much.
Yeah, so I don't understand them.
The only people are going to see this Memorial Day weekend are the ones that didn't see it last weekend. That's it.
Yeah, and I expect a huge drop off. What do you think? Under 50, under 40, or 50 at least? I would say at least a 45% drop off. I would say.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if this movie makes as much as the first one did.
It won't. It definitely won't. Yeah. That was part of my analysis. If we're gonna go for this love story again, they should have just went ahead and put it when they should have went ahead and put it in Valentine's weekend. I didn't understand why to hit that again. I appreciate what they were going for. They were going after that kind of, because Deadpool has a similar relationship to Thanos with Lady Death. And in fact, there's even like a funny thing to where like Lady Death doesn't want Thanos, but she loves Deadpool. So, it was kind of one of those things where they could have played at that even. That's kind of what they were doing with that character, is she's dead and he's trying to get back to her at all times. It just didn't work for me. I don't know. I would have much rather them break up and had some sort of love story between him and Domino, because they have that in the comics anyway. So, and they even tease at it a little bit anyway. The way they kind of interact with each other. So anyway, it was okay. I will say this, and I'm surprised to say this. I'm not surprised to say this. Without the opening sequence and the Juggernaut and Brolin in this film, I wouldn't have even wanted to see it in theaters. Brolin helped this box office tremendously, and to Nate, I think that's the counterpoint to why they wanted it up early. I think they tested this. They knew what they had coming up, and they were like, we got to put this right behind Infinity War so that this just sells. And I think they were smart. I think that's the only reason why it made as much money as it did, actually. You know?
Sound reasoning.
If this film didn't come out, I would have went and saw Infinity War again. So, to be totally honest with you. Well, that gives you our full analysis of it. Is it a bad movie? No. Is it great? No. What would you guys compare it to? Like other films?
Hangover 2.
No, I'm talking about other comic films. Sorry. Like the release of other comic films. What would you compare it to?
I think, in the beginning, I Guardians 2, which is...
Yeah, you did say that.
But even Guardians 2 is better than this, but it's ultimately a forgettable film.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And
I say that about Guardians, too. It's like, we all remember the first one and we love it.
Yeah.
And the second one is ultimately a forgettable movie.
It is.
Yeah.
I feel that way. Derek?
Sound reasoning. As I said, I mean, my expectations of Deadpool 2 were just of what I had for Deadpool, the original one 2 years ago. That was the baseline. That was the only other movie I was going to compare it to. I just wanted crass humor, and I wanted to see some cool fight scenes. And that's really all I put into this. So, and it delivered on that. Like, I laughed my ass off throughout the movie. I appreciated the fight scenes. There was cool shit on the screen. I wasn't looking for a deep story. I didn't expect it. I don't expect that from Fox. I don't expect that from Ryan Reynolds. I don't expect that from Deadpool. And so it is what we thought it was, and it's just a Deadpool 2. Maybe the majority opinion may not be as good as the first one, but I still feel like at its worst, it's as good as the first one. You know, if you appreciate crass humor off color remarks and a bloody action movie, this is going to be it. If you watched Wanted, you'll see Deadpool 2. You know what I'm saying? It's right around there, at least. You know what I mean?
You know what? That's probably the best comparison I've heard already. Wanted and this remind me a lot of each other. Wanted was a silly fucking movie. It was fucking stupid. It was really dumb.
It had some cool
but it had some cool shit in it. But it did. But it had some cool shit, though.
I'm curving these bullets.
Bro.
I forget physics. I'm curving bullets.
That movie is really good. That movie,
long shots.
when you're watching it, you're like, okay, I'm in on this. And then totally people start talking
that
about
Viper around and then get in the car. That's gonna exactly work.
Yeah,
it's
a bullet that has attachments to it that fall off over time and it maintains velocity somehow.
Oh, let me get the
candle wax that helps you regenerate. And then we have Angelina Jolie.
You know what we don't have in movies, guys? We don't have looms. Let's get looms up in this.
That was at that period of time where you could put Angelina Jolie in anything and people would watch it. Like, you put her in any fucking movie at that period of time and it was going to sell. Because she was hot and the internet wasn't as available as it is now. I'm telling you, Pornhub was not super popular yet. No one knew who Sasha Grey was yet. Yes. Man. Shout out to Priya Rai. Anyway, moving on. That definitely gives you a reason as to why you should watch Top 5 if you're under 18. Because we talk about everything on this podcast. But moreover, that gives you our full analysis of Deadpool 2. 2 out of 3 guys think that it's... Actually, all 3 of us agree that it is just as good as the original. Nate and I believe that's the problem with it. Derek sees that as
I think
it is what it is.
Much better. Much better. By
and one of those things, my only argument on that point is because like it hadn't been, you hadn't had it yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if Deadpool had never came out and you saw Deadpool 2 first,
I'm sorry, dude. I do agree with Nate. It is better. What my point was.
Just had more heart.
No,
to it,
heart, human perspective. Look at that.
Well, it's just it seemed like a labor of love. That's what it seemed like. You know, they didn't have much of a budget, and they figured it out how to make it look
and
cool.
This one where he kept going in his psyche, talking to his girlfriend, trying to find himself, did not have that. Totally.
It didn't. It did. Like it really didn't.
No.
It really didn't.
That's the thing. That's what. I know my tone may have sounded sarcastic, but like, I mean that like they kept showing those scenes,
right?
But like you said, you didn't feel the connection with the kid. It was forced. You didn't feel that he was really doing it. Like, so what, dude? Like, get another girl, man. Like, it's okay. Like, you'll find another girl that likes to, give you the strap-on business. You'll get other peggings. Calm down, Ryan.
Well,
like I totally get.
Anyway, not to beat a dead horse, their relationship didn't evolve from the first film. So
it was the exact same thing. It picked up right.
No, it was more endearing in the first film. You actually saw them having sex. You saw them getting together.
Yeah.
You saw that she was
up,
really
girl?
heartbroken.
I know you're a hooker,
it should have started out with them being like, they're past the honeymoon period. Now they're just yelling at each other.
Arguing.
Yes.
Sitting on the couch.
Doing
She's
mundane
through her
things.
phone.
Yeah.
She's playing a video game. Yeah.
Watching
What do you want to
HGTV. Something. Anything.
That would. All right, Fox, give us a call. We can write your Deadpool 3 better, I assure you.
Yes. Or start off with her
I did
already
like
dead,
X-Men
that she
closing
didn't
the door.
actually survive the last film.
Like that part. That was fun.
Say what? Did the X-Men
close the door? Shush.
That was okay. It would have been better if they had more X-Men in there. They were really trying to be careful about who they had in that room. They were very careful who they had in that room. All right, we will continue to use these actors. Everybody else, we're not so sure.
Right.
And also, and again, and we're going to start wrapping it up. There was this veneer of, so is this Fox Disney thing happening or not? Like this whole film felt like that. Like it was like, this is a pitch to keep
Disney.
us.
They were courting Disney with this movie.
Yes, it was like, we'll keep this going, and we're going to give you this MacGuffin of this time traveling puck because maybe it might help you because you're filming your current film right now because they are. I don't think they're completely done with Infinity War or Avengers 4 yet. I know there's still some filming being done. Most of it is done. I know that for a fact, but I know that there's some additional things.
Principal photographer, they're probably in post. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I heard that they had some additional stuff that they were shooting. So yeah. Anyway, that gives it to you, and that helps you get a really good understanding of how we feel exhaustively about Deadpool 2.
The Player Way.
So there you go on that. We talked about this film. Touched on it here and there. Solo, a Star Wars movie that is a Star Wars story that is coming out this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Y'all got any plans for Memorial Day weekend?
I'm going to be taking my wagons east. I'm filling up my car with whatever I can fit in there, and that is what I am moving with.
There you go.
He's over there crossing the Appalachians. That's what he's doing.
Exactly.
I do know this. I am not taking I-10 this time.
There you go.
Driving through Texas is very
dude.
Because you can
we
drive
said that
12 hours and not leave the state.
Dude, we said that. We said when you said you were going to do that last time, I was like, you sure you want to drive through Texas, though? I remember saying that.
40, man.
Because I stopped when I drove out here, I stopped in Austin for a few days.
That's right.
Plan.
That is right. Okay. Because
I
remember
from Austin, I hopped on the 10. But even from Austin, a day's worth of driving, and I had just hit El Paso.
I'm telling you, Texas is not fun to drive through at all.
No,
it's not.
The entire middle of the country is not much to see.
I'll tell you this.
The area.
When I'm driving from Atlanta to Dallas, the longest part of the trip is when you get to Texas. I drive through more states to get there, and it is the longest part.
Once you cross the border, you have 3 hours to get to Dallas. In those 3 hours, you could drive through Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi.
And Georgia.
Yes.
Starting in Atlanta and then drive through the rest of those.
It's too much.
It's too exactly. Much. So absolutely. So So, and then Rachel's birthday is Memorial Day weekend. Happy birthday, babe. You'll hear that when, tomorrow, I guess. So definitely got that coming up. In fact, both of our girls got something coming up this weekend, right? Well, you're beyond this weekend, but
yeah, mine's Priscilla's is the first, so happy early birthday.
Exactly.
But yeah, we got Memorial Day weekend. Hey, let's be honest with what I'm excited about. I'm excited about a day off work where I don't have to go in the office and I can celebrate hot dogs and get a good mattress sale, right? Yep. All right.
You're so stupid.
Shout out to all the people who's giving up their lives for this country. I love
that. Rachel and I, we're going to Tampa for her birthday. Rachel loves the beach.
Okay.
So I'm about to be a son of a beach. Yeah, shout out to the Big Kahuna, man. If we're gonna be down in Treasure Island, bro. If we see you down there, man, we can hang out. Big Kahuna, man, he is the legend. Like, this is a guy we met down in Treasure Island in Tampa. All of the other beaches were really, really booked up, and Treasure Island is like where the old people go to hang out. But it was like perfect. Like, it was like you can go get drinks, walk out there, and there was this guy who was like, for like $1 or $2, you could get an umbrella over your chairs, and his name was the Big Kahuna. I was like, this is awesome. This is like an 80s movie, and he's like this. He turned out to be he is literally the most interesting man in the world. In real life, I mean, he has got this rotisserie gold. He's this white guy who's got a big barrel chest, the long, flowing white locks, the crispy golden brown skin from being out there in the sun all the time. Survived cancer, is a lawyer for DUI people. It is like he does everything, and then on top of that, he just shows up on random beaches and is the coolest guy ever. So shout out to Big Kahuna. You're definitely living life
the player way.
But that leads us into what we are all probably going to want to do. The only person I can see not wanting to see this is Nate, but I still have a feeling if he's got time this weekend, he'll still see it.
Oh, solo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it Thursday.
Okay, so all three of us are probably going to go see this. Well, Derek, are you going to go see it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I didn't even remember it came out until you just said it. So that should tell you my level.
Donald Glover they're hardcore, like redoing the trailers to really highlight Donald Glover.
Every trailer is like, boom, look at this guy, huh? He's pretty cool.
I'm telling you, I love the fact that we called this long before This Is America and SNL and Atlanta season 2 even came out. We were like, the person that's going to sell this movie is Donald Glover. And his star has risen so much since then. And you could tell they're putting him on every show, trying to really make sure that he is seen in front of anything. I don't even know what the lead actor's name of this movie is. I know Emilia Clarke is in it. I mean,
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first film, in my opinion, in recent memory where the supporting cast was more memorable than the people who were starring in it. Anyone?
Agreed.
Anyone?
No.
Is that how we're feeling about this film? Yeah, I guess.
That's just me. I can't speak for you guys.
All right, so
it doesn't mean I won't see it, but
all right, so if there's nothing else for the good of the order, I think it's time.
I wanted to take a moment to, if you guys don't mind.
Well, that's not actually what I was going to say. I guess I did my job too well. Hold on to that. Let's not be a downer quite yet.
Oh, no, it wasn't a moment of silence.
Okay. You made it seem like, wow, we tricked each other.
No,
all right, you go first.
I just want to take a minute to give my ode to the city of Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
I have come to really love this place. It has been home for 4 years. And, you know, it's a place, honestly, I wish I lived in my early 20s. Like, as I've gotten older, obviously friends and being around people that are closest to me have become more important. But if I was in my early 20s living in Los Angeles, god damn, and it would have been so much fun. I probably would have had chlamydia.
I think Derek, he's so stupid. I think Derek and I will agree with you that we all agree that in our early 20s, we all wish we lived in Los Angeles.
It's a fantastic city. Everyone should come, at least visit. There's a subculture
I wish
for
at 18
everyone.
I had the gumption
Yes.
Tell BK, let's move to LA and figure this out.
Hey, let's start a
But
podcast,
I
man.
will
You know how to
say
make
one
beats.
thing. Kale does not taste good, and as
In 03?
Collective City, you need to stop eating it.
I love kale, dude. Kale is my jam,
No.
dude. I've grown to love kale. In my
Well,
older
then you would
age.
fit right in.
There you
would
go.
fit right in with the other.
But what I was gonna say, if there's nothing else,
Amazing.
you're so stupid. What I was gonna say before we close it out is the last thing I want to do, if there's nothing else for the good of the order.
Bets, bets, bets. Place your bets here. We got a gentleman bet right over here. Let's get it going, boys.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, with all due respect, this has been your resident podcast DJ BK. Help you understand and curate your life and media.
The Player Way.
Along with my co-captains Derek
That's me, corrupting the system you already know.
and Nate.
And that's me.
Our gentleman's bet. Since I won last week, I'm going to go ahead and go first. I am going to say that Solo, a Star Wars film, will break 80 million.
Well,
I'll say 80
gotta
million.
decide if we're going to do the 3-day or the 4-day because it is.
Oh, you're
Memorial
right.
Day
Thank
weekend.
you. I always forget that.
Yeah.
Damn.
Nate.
Yeah. Good job. I'm still gonna say 90 million domestic.
For 3-day,
4-day.
4-day.
Yes.
Oh man, that's. And what's odd is that my natural inclination is to be like, it might be a little bit more just because it's Memorial Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Deadpool's going to have a large drop off, like you said, about 45-50%. I don't even know if it'll do 50 million. I don't even know if Deadpool will do 50 million.
Yeah, Infinity
With
War
Solo
still
coming
in
out.
theaters.
And Infinity War still out there. Infinity War will probably get another 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What other
Actually, it
films
might
are
do
coming
better
out?
than that.
What other films are coming out this weekend? Anybody got that pulled up?
Let me see. I got Box Office Mojo right here. Let me see what we got. Release. All right.
No, nothing. No competition.
No, they know. Yeah,
I've been talking to girls at parties. Mary, some movie called Mary Shelley, who I believe was the author of Frankenstein, wasn't she?
Yeah, I definitely think Infinity War will pull at least 15. Deadpool 2, I see dropping no lower than 60.
You don't think? Okay, I don't know, something about Solo, man. It's a Star Wars movie. I feel like I have to say 115 or something especially for a Memorial Day weekend opening.
What Derek is essentially saying, everyone, is that this movie shouldn't do that well, but it's going to do that well just because.
Yeah,
precisely. That was a great Derek to English translation.
That's basically it. That is basically what it is.
I'll say 135.
Really?
For a 4-day.
Wow.
I mean, it's 4 days.
4 days.
It's Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. Everybody's going to go see it, man. It's a family.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Take kids to this, yeah.
Okay.
You know?
I give it to you. On that one. I'm holding strong at my 90.
You want to leave it at 90?
I'm leaving mine at
hold
90.
strong at 90.
90 domestic.
For a Star Wars movie
Yeah.
in a Disney world, technically a Disney planet.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
In a MAGA country with a black actor being your flagship.
A blackter.
This is America.
America. This is America.
Don't get you slip in though. So what are you gonna say?
Hey, look what I'm whipping. Oh, I 115.
115. Okay, so we got 90, 115, and 135. There we go. Price is Right rules. Closest without going over.
Not the Mario Van Peebles classic from '96, right?
Man,
Mario Van Peebles.
man, that is so 90s.
Universal Soldier.
That is so 90s. Universal Soldier 2.
2. Yeah.
There you go. Anyway. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, we have signed off already. Nate, send us off.
I hope they remember you. Well, in this case, I hope Ellie remembers me.
There you go. Every time. I was hoping Derek would say every time. All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Spectacle in that one. I don't know. That was it's got the LA makeover.
It wasn't as good as the original. Thanks for listening to the Player Way podcast. Recorded in a single take from Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, by Nathan Peterson, Derek Lewis, and BK Jackson.
And I'm Darren Marlar, the majestic voice of the Player Way Podcast.
Our opening theme is titled Bound by Ricky Remedy, courtesy of Elysian Records. And our closing theme is titled Coconut King Diaries by Xander, spelled Zahnder. You can find this music by both Ricky Remedy and Xander, and many more tracks on SoundCloud. And remember, no matter what choices you make or paths you follow, just make sure you do it
the Player Way.
See you next week.